with a fresh shot of espresso. Bold, rich, pulled just right. Then comes the milk, steamed smooth, creamy, and balanced. The perfect latte is not rushed. It is crafted, one cup at a time. Your perfect latte is ready. Coffee first, then everything else.
Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm DJ Moises, and today's conversation is brought to us by Coffee First. Two events are shaping the national conversation this week. On one hand, the president delivered his State of the Nation address. On the other hand, the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte continues to unfold in the Senate. Where is the country headed? Today, we look deeper and think better. Joining us is a respected political science expert who has spent years studying the institutions, behaviors, and the ideas that influence public life in the Philippines, Miss Brenette Abrenica. Hello, Brenette. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines.
May hapon, DJ, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be back.
Yes, it's also a pleasure to have you back. So yesterday we spoke about the president's Sona, no? But the areas of his Sona that we already covered were katong corruption, which was the opening, and then the closing, which was the West Philippine Sea. And then we also tackled those in the middle that I thought were well applauded, no? Like tax exemption, electricity reforms, response to the Middle East tension, and then agriculture. Now, this afternoon, and I'm glad that you are also our guest today because we will cover the longest, I think, part of his SONA per my view, no, or kung wala ko na sayop, and that is on education. I think in this area, he made a few remarks. No, I will not call promises. I leave it to you. But he left a few remarks, no, like expanding feeding to 4.5 million learners, deployment of the first 10,000 school counselor, associates in public schools, promotion of more than 80,000 teachers and school heads, creation of 30,000 additional teaching positions, construction of more than 16,000 classrooms through public and private partnerships. And he also mentioned TVET, no, of TESDA. Now, given all these pronouncements, no, I will not say promises, which part of this do you think will have a significant impact to education in the Philippines today?
I have to be very candid about this, that although these are items in the pipeline, I think the government cannot be remiss of the fact that there had been a number of recommendations from EDCOM 2. And while we are seeing some signs and symptoms of the quality and the space of education in the Philippines, and I use the word signs and symptoms, I refer to, for example, the recent incidents involving our students in Tacloban, in Pampanga, or elsewhere in the country, and even the brawling of two school kids to a teacher yesterday. These are simple signs and symptoms of the quality and the space of education that our students are in. So for me, while you have the infrastructure and we want to fix the infrastructure because that is also one thing, there is need for us to seriously take a look at the quality of education from the vantage point of not only academic inputs, but also the quality of behavior that we are producing out of this education system. If I may pursue a little bit, we have been pushing back and forth the design of our education system, whether we want to keep senior high school or otherwise. And for me, this is so much telling of how serious is the government in terms of education. And we're harping on this not because we just want to produce students, but we're harping on this because this is the future human resource of the country. I mean, the quality of future Filipinos will be dependent on earlier generations. So For me, while all of those are, and I have to say this further, these items, infra deployment of appropriate manpower, promotions, these have been deadlines yesterday. And when I speak of yesterday, it would have been prior administrations. But if we can do this now, then we have to do this in the immediate, and then really harp on what will improve the quality of our graduates, the quality of our students, because they will really define the quality of Filipinos moving forward.
Mhm. Now, I have a set of questions here, but there's something about your answer, no, that also made me even more curious. What are your thoughts about the senior high kanang integration, and what do you think is the quality, no, of adding actually 2 years, no, in the secondary school,
Well,
at least
I
from
think
what you're
the
seeing, no?
yes, yes. The Philippines has been lagging behind in terms of the number of years. The quality of education worldwide has been measured by the number of years, formative years for that matter. And here we're seeing that the Philippines introduced senior high school more than 10 years ago. To be very specific, in
Oh
2012,
yeah.
there was a CMO 46 from the tertiary that actually segued to the introduction of senior high school by then. We were supposed to see the full product of senior high school from grade one, the first grader, until it finished the entire program in
Mhm.
2024. And we're supposed to recalibrate the senior high school program from there. But all of a sudden we have been doing some bridging from the senior high school, the old high school system to senior high school to college. And we have not even transitioned to the culture change that we see was necessary. I'm speaking from the vantage point of tertiary education. So
Mm.
we were managing that transition. We were putting in bridging programs so that students who may not have had very perfect and seamless junior high school and senior high school experience can still go and proceed to college program with their choice or their preferred degree, not so having not much difficulty seamlessly getting in. And we saw that there was still a lot of things that we were trying to patch up when
Mm.
they reached college. So we see that there are a lot of things that were supposed to be done when they were still in their elementary, in their junior high, and then senior high. But I think, sorry for the term, but this has been politicized a number of times, where the Secretary of Education will have to decide on behalf of the president how to manage our education system. Seeing, for instance, that we have to remove and change senior high school, we are actually reducing back the number of years that is below the world standard.
Mm.
And for me, this is my very personal opinion. We are going back to an education system that may not be recognized abroad, may not be recognized by our fellow ASEAN countries, or may not be recognized by other countries in the world for that matter. And it's not just a number of years, but it is the depth and the breadth of the education that our students are getting. So for me, while we provide all the pathways possible, we are linking with TESDA, we're linking with all other institutions. But mind you, the number of years is still deficit. So I
Mm.
think that's one important thing to address.
So, sige, before I'll go back to my original set of questions, so what we're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brenette, is,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about the quality later, no? But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
when it comes to quantity, and then we're talking about the number of years, we are saying, or you are saying, na we have to uh, retain, no, the 12 years that we currently have. Kwan pa lang ta karon, number of years pa lang, because even with the
Yeah.
12 years, we are still deficit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So our bargain was have the 2 years additional. Although this is all about mindset, no?
Mm.
If we say it's an additional 2 years, of course it will create havoc on
Yes.
our frame of thought that I have to finish by this age. But if we look at it in terms of the breadth and the depth of what we learn compared to others, I think that's the gap that we are unable to appreciate.
And by the way, I don't want you to put you on the spot, but now it makes sense to me, and you can tell me whether how I put things together is actually correct. Now it makes sense to me why some people are actually saying that in countries like Japan, they start with character building more before
Mm-hmm.
starting to introduce more of academics. Is it also because they have more years, no? In their primary and secondary compared to the 12 that we have here in the Philippines?
The number of years is given already in all other parts of the world except the Philippines and one other country I forgot. So that is already a given.
So
Um,
what's the typical number of years di ay? Sige lang, no?
it's 12.
It's 12. Okay, sige.
12 for yeah. So meaning to say our primary junior high school and senior high school is supposed to patch that up, having
Okay.
the two senior high school years.
Okay. So supposedly that also gives more room, for example, for character building in the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
then to introduce also employability towards the end, no?
And not only employability, but it's really career building. In the Philippines, we ask our kids what they want to be. Well, we started when they were young, and then when they proceed to junior high school, and as if when they graduate from high school, they're already quite fixed on what they want to become. But that needs a follow through. I mean, when they enter college, it's a totally different. It's the same question, but it's a totally different landscape. Which what I mean by this is there is a gap, no, from junior high to senior high to college. So it is in college as if that we are trying to build a career. The idea is even as early as junior high school, we should be able to let our kids articulate what they want 5, 10, 15 years down the road. We cannot allow that they think of this career only at a later stage in their life. And you know what? I'm seeing this already in our high school now with senior high school students I have met. They are already developers, they're already coders, they're programmers, they are building their own website, they're doing games, which means to say that these capacities need not wait until college. These capacities are best built when they are in their formative years, because there's like SpongeBob, they can keep everything when they reach college at the age of say 18, 20, like when you were and myself to 18 and 20, we're already quite fixed with so many things, and learning becomes sometimes repelling. So the formative years is very, very critical. So how we shape, no, what kind of workers or what kind of Filipinos, what kind of entrepreneurs we will have in the future, best to start when they are young.
Sige, so now we can go back to the president's Sona, no, in particular.
Yeah.
But this is still related to what you mentioned about quality, because there are certain factors that are cited, no, by experts in the education space or even EdCom, no. And one of those is the number of classrooms, because some people are asking what's the point of having 12 years in primary and secondary, but it's still shifting, no? In some schools.
True.
So that
True.
means we just expanded the number of years, but in reality, it's because they're just having 4 or 5 hours per shift, then it's still compromised. So let's go on the president, one of the president's remarks, no, which is the 16,000 classrooms, no, future commitment. And if I recall, during last year's Sona, the president also draw loud kanang applause when he pledged that before his term would end, he would be able to add 40,000 classrooms, no? But if I am to cite reports from July 2022 to July 2025, DepEd and the Department of Public Works and Highways completed a little more than 22 classrooms. So in short, they are not even delivering just yet, no, what
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
committed last year, no. So how
Yeah.
confident are you that with this particular remark the president can truly deliver before his term ends in 2028?
I would have to be very honest, DJ, that I don't think it is possible to have this in the pipeline and really finished by the end of his term. With things that are going on right now, we're still bugging with the flood control project, with all the corruption issues, and with all the calamities that are plaguing the country midway the year. It's very impossible to have the completion of these infrastructure for classrooms alone way within the deadline that he has set for himself. I'm not saying he cannot do it or his people cannot do it. It's just that there are a lot of other presenting issues and priorities that his administration and even his own Sona has explained. And I don't think there will be much focus unless and I say unless there is attention being paid to the monitoring of these classrooms. I would like to transition, therefore, my thought to accountability. If, in case, within the time frame that these projects are not finished, we make them accountable, then perhaps we will see some results. Otherwise, there will be numbers that will come out every SONA by every president that we will have. And we are shortchanging a generation or two or three. We're not only talking about the students of this year, but we're actually talking about a generation or two or three generations who are unable to actually optimize classroom time, learning time, so that they become better individuals afterwards.
So thank you also for the nudge, no, because I will do my part also to remember the 16,000 more classrooms and 40,000 kind of completed before his term ends, no, as he actually, now I will say, promised. Now, in terms of being realistic then, and now we go back also to the context of the SONA, do you think it would have made better sense if instead of articulating the number of classrooms, because anyway he already promised that last year's SONA, it would have been better if he was able to spell out a clear kwan pa lang ni infrastructure strategy, no? I'm not even saying about education in general, a
Yeah.
clear infrastructure strategy to actually provide adequate number of classrooms to our learners. And the reason why I highlighted this, it's because aside from there is a shortage, there are also old classrooms that are also
Yeah.
yet to be repaired or
True.
already
True.
no longer safe for use. Do you think it makes sense if he instead articulated an infrastructure strategy to complete the adequate required classrooms, no, for our learners?
I would have to say it's ideal. I mean, coming from the vantage point from the academia professionals, should I say, it's what we're looking for. From civil society groups, this is what we're looking for. But the State of the Nation address is not only addressed to a select few in the community, but it is also trying to appeal to ordinary Filipinos who can remember specific numbers and use that numbers as leverage for performance. Okay, this is something that he is promising. I'm saying this because this has been how, from a political behavior perspective, this has been how we have been shaping Filipinos interacting politically. We're feeding, this is a form of political priming. We're actually feeding information to the public because we want the public to remember that these are the things that we will deliver. They can remember 16,000, 40,000 classrooms. If they can see one that has been blessed, for instance, it's newly painted, and they will, this is part of the 16,000. That's a kind of priming and framing that I would like to believe is part of the entire choreography and the reason why these words and these data were put into place. And I have to say that reading through the printed the transcript version of the State of the Nation address makes me see a very hodgepodge put together one concept scattered all over way. I think there is a sense of appeal that the president may want to actually have with ordinary Filipinos, so that even if it's the tail end of his State of the Nation address, people will still remember infra. People will still remember corruption. People will still remember Middle East conflict. And you will see that as a pattern in the State of the Nation address. So for me, it's a strategy, not only for us, but in general. And I have to say, majority of the Filipinos will take the numbers more than the strategy.
Sige. I will have to agree with what you said. So I'll just keep in mind the 40,000. And then I'm hopeful
60,000.
that on the back end, no, they have a strategy on the infrastructure strategy, no, specific to the number of classrooms, no, that's been perennially a shortage, no, over time. Now let's talk
Yes.
about another. For in my opinion, you can correct me, Brenette. Another ayuda-ish kanang commitment, and I'm talking about the feeding of 4.5 million. Okay, I'll have to make sure, no? Okay, expanded school feeding for over 4.5 million learners. Now, we covered kay daghang factors affecting quality. So now we already covered classroom. Now let's talk about malnutrition, because the numbers actually that I have here, and I think this is where the expansion of the feeding in school, no, and the numbers that I have here, data would actually show that over 25% of young Filipino children remain stunted, directly impairing cognitive development and classroom focus. And for those of our viewers who have not been following this, kung kuan man gud ang atong brain man gud, o ang atong body is not well kanang fed, or we are malnourished, so our brain is also not functioning effectively. So do you think that when the feeding in the school is already quite late, because by then their brain is already underdeveloped? Why not highlight instead maternal health and child care, which is nutrition of the child before they even go to school?
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say that. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The first 1,000 days, no, of a child is critical. That's the determinant year, or the length of time duration for stunted growth. We have had some feeding programs from our university, and I suppose all others do provide feeding program, but they're not genuine feeding program. When I say it's not genuine, I'm not saying they're not feeding. What I'm saying is, because I may be misconstrued, all I'm saying is our kids need the appropriate nourishment for them to become better, to reverse the stunted growth. Unfortunately, it really takes the first 1,000 years, rather 1,000 days, for a child to have good health. We cannot have a way to reverse tremendously
Correct.
stunted growth, but take care of the first 1,000 days. So for me, if there is any priority of our government for a good set of generation, let's take care of the first 1,000 days. We already have a law on that. So it's a matter of reinforcing that law and ensuring that our children, our infants have access to good nutrition. But of course, there are another layer of issue there. You have many mothers that are getting younger and younger, and it has an impact even to a child. So even if you take care of the first 1,000 days, but if the child comes from a very young mom with lack of nutrients and so on, magkalisod gyapon ang bata ang nag-cope up. So having the feeding program is a hunger mitigation strategy. So when we speak of kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, this is already hunger mitigation, meaning to say, for a child to survive a day, being able to absorb the lesson, then the stomach will have to have a fill. But that's not for nutrition purposes, and that's not reversing necessarily an absolutely stunted growth. Rather, it is hunger mitigation so that they can concentrate at least for a day that they are in school. And there are already a number of teachers doing that on their own because they understand that it's very difficult for someone, a child at that, to focus in class if their stomachs are empty.
How I know it's also a strategy, no, of whoever wrote the president's Sona, no, but I would have hoped that the president spoke more on the nutrition, as you say, on the first 1,000 years, because a Sona,
Days.
in my view, is also a chance to educate the public, ba? Na it's quite late already if by the time enters school the child to begin with already has not a fully developed brain, no, or cognitive capacity to actually even understand, no, what's being discussed. And
True, true.
if we put the shifting pagyod because of the lack of classrooms, they have shorter number of learning hours, and then there's probably 60 of them or 70 of them inside a classroom. So putting them all together, then I could understand, no, what's that we truly, in my view, has an education crisis. Now let's complicate this further. Discuss na to ang classroom, discuss na po nato ang malnutrition. Now let's talk about the actual product na gyud, no, of our schools, no. This one is a stat gyud that keeps me awake at night. Only 70.8% of Filipinos age 10 to 64 are functionally literate,
Literate.
no? So that actually means that close to 30% of that age group cannot properly read and comprehend. And sorry, I know you understand this, Brenette, but I'm just giving an idea sa kaning ato ang viewers. When we say comprehend, ang isang measure ana is if they can fill out a form.
Yeah.
But so that means 30%, now close to 30% of Filipinos in that age bracket cannot even effectively fill out a form. Imagine. So that's how sad the situation is, no? Do you think maybe in the back end, or should have been addressed in the Sona or whatever, do you think we should also have a strategy on how to arrest this huge mess? In my view. Sorry, no, pardon me with the word.
Yeah. I agree. I think this is where I came from. No, when I said that we're actually shortchanging a generation. Very basic information that one is supposed to be capable of giving is something that is disempowering them. Not because they are not given the chance, but because of the complexities and the layers that these kids have to go through in class. And learning, we have to understand, learning as well is not only the sole responsibility of classes, of teachers, but it's the community. So if you only have 4-6 hours of learning hours, and then you go back to a community that does not empower learning, does not love learning, would rather use shortcuts like cell phones, TikTok, whatever. So you have an entire ecosystem that does not support learning. And this has created a dysfunction on some students. We're not saying all, but there is a significant number of these students and even adults who are unable to fully function, cannot comprehend, not because they were not given the chance, but because circumstances here and there complicated, no, their process of learning and comprehension. That would need some ayuda, no? How to arrest? Your question is how to arrest. This is the role now of civic education. This is the role now of continuous learning. We cannot, even with this reality, we cannot grow tired of teaching our fellow Filipinos. And I would have to say that this is not easy, no? Not easy because Filipinos may not have developed the capacity to make a choice. Kana bitaw unsa di akong ganahan sa akong kinabuhi, kana ang question very seemingly drama, but actually for me it's a heartbreaking question, because sometimes people would like to depend on others, so dili gyud siya capable of thinking, no? Or maybe lang, no, people have grown tired of thinking, because we think that thinking is a very tedious process, but thinking is a very creative process. Thinking is very empowering, and I think we have lost the capacity to empower our fellow Filipinos. So there are times, and well, I heard this from some young people, no, why do I have to go and have PE, for example, if I want to be an architect? But of course, they have not understood the importance of fine details, skills, and so on and so forth. But I think we just have to be a little bit patient, that to make them understand about the value of all of these things put together, so we become better and whole in the future. So I hope that institutions, academia, media, we should not grow tired of educating our young, even outside the formal education system. Because the formal education system seemingly is tired. The formal education system is absorbing all the shocks, and whether they are doing it to the best and optimum level, that's something that I am not perfectly aware of, and I would not want to judge them, but I think the continuous education framework is very much important to apply.
And I'll just add more kanang layer, no, to what we just talked about, because this is also a number that keeps me awake, no. So from the program for international student assessment, or PISA, in 2022 report, the Philippines actually ranks second to the lowest in the world in creative thinking. And in the same 2018, in the same report, but this time in 2018, the Philippines was lowest in reading and second lowest in math and science. Now let's introduce artificial intelligence into the conversation, because the
Yeah.
president actually, while he mentioned the leveraging of artificial intelligence in agriculture, but not really explicit about whether the country truly has uh, a roadmap, no, to enable our graduates pa lang ganin, eh. We're not even talking about those who are already in the workforce, but even just graduates, no? Given the stunted growth, malnutrition, problem in functional literacy, and then problems pagyud with second to the lowest in math, science, reading, and lowest also in second to the lowest also in creative thinking. Are we even ready to the new economy? And I'm talking about artificial intelligence and co-pilot kinang economy in which humans are superior, no, and are users of uh, artificial intelligence rather than being replaced by it.
If you ask me if we are ready, AI is already here. We have been overtaken by how AI has progressed. Are we ready? Institutionally, well, coming from media, academe, I think we are trying to be ready. We're putting in some mechanisms to support the business that we do, right? For example, for education, we have some policies, some rules, some guidelines. But in terms of the government, the entire nation, I would have to say we're not. In one workshop that I co-facilitated, it's about a roadmap on, I forgot, no, but one of the things that people there, it was with DOST and so on. One of the things that people there expressed is, we are supposed to do this side by side with a roadmap on AI. And the Philippines, unfortunately, while we subscribe to Pax Silica, for instance, because we would like to offer the Philippines as a place where all these mega computers are to be in, the capacity to think on how to go along with the development of AI is seemingly not parallel with the enthusiasm to accommodate. these kinds of industry in the country. It seemed easy to say that, well, AI is a tool. True, it is a tool, but subconsciously the use of the tool, if not warranted by appropriate imagination and not supported by appropriate thinking, you can get consumed by AI because it gives you so much convenience. It gives you so much time for yourself, right? Because it can do something for you. But I think the argument on how sound it is for us to use AI, whether in arts, in science, in research, in the academe, and much more in the quality of work that we provide to the community, needs a lot of thinking. We need to be critical. We cannot just accept AI as is. I understand the Philippine government if it wants to accept AI like a gold standard, but we need to have a thinking community, a learning community, not only an AI led community.
Mm. And I will, those are powerful kanang sentences or statements, so I leave them no at that no, and I hope our viewers and our leaders were able to capture that. So now if we zoom out sa Sona, so in its totality, no, what do you think are the strengths no of the Sona, and the parts of the Sona also where you think, this is weak, no, this is not well, for the lack of better word, thought of.
All right. Let's have the some good things. One for me, the rearticulation of our plight against corruption, and I'm emphasizing this because this is actually validating what the people are feeling right now. This is actually to acknowledge that yes, this is not only a problem that is seen by the government, uncovered by the government, but this is the actual experiences of people. And why is this very important? Because until now, say for instance in Cebu, we have not found one behind bars or charged for a crime because of what happened to the flood control projects and the effects during Bagyong Tino. And this is just one context, you know. So articulating that in the Sona sort of is telling the Filipinos, ay mo kabala ka, nakahinumdum gyapon ko ani. I opened this last year, so I remember it until now. Second, there is an emphasis on how the government facilitated the entire country amidst the Middle East crisis. And for me, that's very important because that validates that while we are far from the Middle East, we are gravely affected by what's going on outside. And the strategies put forward by the government have sort of alleviated, helped a little bit, no? Ease out the tension at the level of the ordinary Filipinos. Third, di ka pa CCL. For me, it was something that Filipinos needed to hear, and I'd like to believe uniformed personnel of our armed forces also need to have that validation. The validation of UNCLOS, for instance, that we need to protect our national integrity. For me, it's an important message because you have to understand the administration prior this had a totally different perspective of our jurisdictional issues in the West Philippine Sea. So for me, these three are highlights. In terms of what would have been done better, as I mentioned already earlier, you have all of these things scattered in the Sona, except for UNCLOS, it's towards the end. So he talked about corruption at the beginning, in the middle, and towards the end. He talked about infrastructure beginning, middle, towards the end. And for me, focus would have been the would have made the Sona, the message tighter. Say number one, we talk about corruption. What do we do, and so on and so forth. Number two, because this will necessarily ask the head of state to be very specific with a strategy. And I think that's what you were looking for. A strategy, a framework, a roadmap that will help the Philippines move forward. However, if you have a very structured statement, a very structured message, then you will have to be very strategic. However, if you don't have a strategy, then you can appeal to these messages across your 1 hour and 30 minutes of State of the Nation address with applauses in between. So I find that there is so much, the message is scattered. And number two, there is no embedded strategy. I cannot find documents being labeled, being named, except for systems laws, IPIRA, and I have to say that they are in the pipeline. They have been there. The
For many
urgency for review
years.
for many many years, and civil society organizations have been pushing this forward. So for me, the messaging should have been tighter, with better strategy, with very clear cut approach, and perhaps performance. And when I say performance, actual numbers will have to speak for that performance.
And
But then again, as I mentioned, State of the Nation address is also a political choreography, and it has to be staged to a certain extent so that you have the head of state being able to deliver the message before the Filipinos.
And by the way, Brenette, you can correct me also, or you can express your disagreement now. But I in at least on what you kind of just shared about the strong points and the weak points of the Sona, my personal journey with it sounded nice the first time I heard the whole thing. But when I already took a step back, because we have an episode, and then pondered on the points, that's when I actually realized that, my goodness, no, I mean, it's a choreography, as you said, but I was just like, my goodness, no, this is a combination of ayuda and legislative measures that may not be an infrastructure that may not be delivered in the next 2 years. And that saddened me after I pondered on it. So that's also how I wish the rest of the Filipinos, but the moment they heard it, they applauded. I hope they also took the time to just like, wait,
Yeah, true. I
what is
think the
this?
advantage for me is I did not listen to him. I had a different event on Monday, but I just read through the transcript. And it is in the transcript that I find the appeal to be absent. There is no appeal. I mean, if a message is really genuine, sorry
Correct.
for this, but it will appeal to you even if you're just reading it. That's the power of books, right? That's the power of poems. But reading through the transcript, it's okay. That's why I observed everything is scattered all over. So yeah, just my personal impression though.
And that was also my personal experience also with the Sona. So now, some experts would say that this Sona supposedly is already the Sona, because by next year, the Sona, if we look at the pattern of past presidents, the last Sona is already like an acknowledgement, a thank you, and a
Thank you.
summary,
Yeah.
of what has been accomplished. So this could have been supposedly the Sona. So in your view, now, although I already have an idea, but I don't want to put words into your mouth. In your view, did this Sona clearly articulated and painted a picture of how the last 2 years will be, and the direction of the country, and the priorities, no, that this is what this administration is going to finish before it ends in 2028?
I think what is clear to me is that the single promise that they can be consistent is that they will be, although the president said it's not reactive anymore, it's predictive. But they will still continue to react to impetus. They will continue to react on impulses, whether it's local, international. They will continue to protect the Filipinos because that's the mandate. And I think this is this is a promise that has been consistent all throughout, and any presidency for that matter, that I will be there as your president. But then again, that's the minimum, no?
Mm.
So we can expect the president to still look for ways should there be a Middle East crisis. We'll look for ways for those who are hungry. We'll look for ways for those who are devastated by calamities, because primarily that's the job of the president of the Republic of the Philippines. So that's the kind of for me, that's the expectation I have, and that's the kind of leadership in the next 2 years. They will always say they'll end with a bang, because they have these accomplishments, they were present, they showed up, and so on. But that's the character. That's the role that has to be performed. So that's something I can promise myself observing. Whether or not there will really be trailblazing outputs and eventually outcomes from this administration, I would have to cross the bridge in 2028,
Mm.
unless there are really strong push on a lot of things, then we can find something beneficial. But however, if the Pax Silica will materialize, because the agreement will be sealed in November of this year, then that will be one big seal of accomplishment that this administration will actually brag about in 2028. Whether it will be to the benefit of Filipinos or not, whether it will be displacing farmers, and land destroying properties or not, that will be determined by the administration after. So, just big trophies that this administration can bring with him in
Mm.
2020.
And by the way, that's another interesting topic, and hopefully we can talk about it in the future. No, and I'm referring to
Mm-hmm.
Pax Silica. So, but before we let you go, so my last two questions actually are
Mm.
specific to the impeachment. So, my
Yeah.
second to the last question is, what is your view of the concluded series one, no? Which is
Mm-hmm.
article four, no? On grave threats and betrayal of public trust.
Mm-hmm.
Who had the edge?
Mm-hmm.
Whether was it the prosecution, was it the defense, or is it a draw as of this time?
This is very personal to me, not very personal opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say that the prosecution has laid down all the strong points to actually support the fourth article, which is on grave threats. No, with all the testimonies and the pieces of evidence they were able to put together, um, vis-a-vis the very technical render of the defense. I find that the prosecution was able to lay that down for me. I
Mm,
understood where they're coming from, and I understood the 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 gravity of the
mm,
accusation, I have to say. And it allowed me to really think that if there is a threat to the highest official of the land, who are we all ordinary Filipinos to be protected?
mm,
And that actually showed me, this is my personal reflection, that actually showed me our culture of impunity in the country. As long as you have the microphone, as long as you have the power of, or you have the voice, and you have an opportunity to articulate that voice, and you are very free, you believe you're very free to express that point, then you're very empowered. And imagine, there's this one statement from one of the testimonies saying, if we will just allow this to be articulated freely online, we're actually inviting anarchy in the country. And personally, when I heard that statement and I had to repeat that clip over and over again, I realized, wow, it's a powerful message that we cannot tolerate violence at all levels, especially so from those with positions in government. It will not excuse everyone else at our level, ordinary Filipinos. And then looking at the impeachment going on, and then you have violence in schools, you have kids um, shooting at each other. That really made me uncomfortable. So I went back to that clip and then I said, then what kind of messaging are we telling our Filipinos? What kind of messaging are we sharing to each other? Is it impunity? Is it violence? And do we not do anything to arrest it? So the impeachment for me and how the prosecution laid down for Article 4 is very important. I just really hope that the language used in the impeachment trial is not a deterrent for Filipinos to understand how valuable this political exercise is. And we cannot remiss, no? Tungod kay nag-in-English ang mga tao, nagtinagalog, wala ta kasabot. We get overwhelmed with the message. But there is profound, no? Profound depth that we need to appreciate looking at this political exercise. I hope I got a
Yes.
point.
And by the way, before I ask you the last kanang question, there's just something about what you said about magsigig in English, no? Because I also get that feedback, no, for the show. But my take on that, and I hope this will not get me into trouble, is because if the Philippines is moving forward as a globally competitive country, it is important also for us to practice, no, our facility to converse in the globally recognized language of business, which is English, and to actually understand and comprehend
Yeah.
English. No, so I know that that we are supposed to meet our audience
Where they are.
where they are. I get that, but there's also as leaders, but there's also a stretch that we need to introduce so that our audience will not stay where they are. No, so na-struck on to when you said that, and I would agree also.
Pero,
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Pero I think because we're dealing with a platform, then we have to use a specific language. And this is where I go back to my point earlier. Civic education. At ta sa community, wala gyud puntong mag-English na, di ba? So we adjust. And I think this is the kind of agility that each of us should have. The ability to sit where we are seated and to converse with people sa ilahang level. So kung nato sa mga komunidad, no, dili gyud ingani ang atong in English, rather we adjust because our point is not to impress. Our point is to connect and to communicate. So I think because we are in this platform, DJ, then we use the language. Pero mo na, no, hinaot nga ang tanaw sa impeachment will not get overwhelmed with the technicalities of law. Rather, they will appreciate that this is a political exercise and this is about me as a Filipino.
And on that piece, I also agree with what you said. Okay, some people disagree that why are we having this, and some people are said we need to have this, but we are already here, so might as well leverage on the situation by becoming
Correct.
better, no, at being a Filipino. My last question. Today, it already started earlier. No? Today is the start of Article 1, which is on confidential funds. What's your forecast?
I cannot give a forecast, unfortunately,
Okay,
DJ, but
sige.
I
But at least from
am
what
very,
you heard from the Justice Committee when they elevated
Yeah.
this, no, to the Senate. I mean, for plenary voting in the House and then eventually
Yeah.
impeachment trial in the Senate.
for me, because there's just a recent online talk which the topic is all about confidential and intelligence fund. I think what is so clear to me is that confidential and intelligence fund is intended for the uniform sector, for the uniform defense sector. In the case, for example, we, and I have to say we because it's the country, we allow that it be placed in the education sector. And when I read through the document, that's a DILG memorandum circular, a DBM rather, memorandum circular, I was so struck that it is placed in the education sector. And during that forum, I said, are we hunting our own Filipinos? In the education sector, it is the broadest of all sectors in the country. Why? Because you have the future generations of Filipinos there. And imagine utilizing and spending intelligence funds and confidential funds to the education sector. For me, that struck me. Um, uh, that that how do I say this? That disturbed me. That's the term. It disturbed me because the I am in the education sector. I also am from the progressive groups. I have to say that when you are hunted by the state or anyone with power and authority coming from the state, you are rendered helpless and you are rendered hopeless. So imagine if this is the kind of country that we have. A state or people in the state looking for people in the education sector. It snatches the progressiveness, the creativity, and the ability to feel and to express oneself freely. So I would like to believe that, and I would like to hope that clarity be shed in this impeachment trial, particularly on confidential and intelligence fund. It's not just that there is the fund, but where the funds were placed during a time when authority is held by one single individual. So I really hope to learn. I really hope to be clarified. And I really hope to understand that our state cannot overtake people's rights and cannot use whatever platforms in government for their advantage. It has to be for the people, not the ones in office. I
And
hope.
yeah, and thank you very much, for sharing your thoughts that this confidential and intelligence fund, while confidential should be intelligent. I'm just playing with words.
All right.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. It's like the first time. It's a very good conversation and a learning experience for me. So thank you very much, Brenette, for sharing your insights as well as your on the Sona, no, as well as your thoughts about the ongoing impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte.
My pleasure, DJ. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
And see you soon. No,
See
so
you.
two events are shaping the national conversation this week. As citizens, our role is not simply to applaud or criticize, it is to stay informed, ask difficult questions, and hold every public official, regardless of party or position, to the same standard. Headlines tell us what happened. Understanding tells us why it matters. So we continue to look deeper and think better. So I'm DJ Moises. Shout out to Coffee First for supporting conversations that matter. Until the next time, have a good afternoon.
It starts with a fresh shot of espresso. Bold, rich, pulled just right. Then comes the milk, steamed smooth, creamy, and balanced. The perfect latte is not rushed. It is crafted, one cup at a time. Your perfect latte is ready. Coffee first, then everything else.